The Orion Nebula was a graveyard of giants. Stars, long dead, had bloomed one last time, scattering their guts across parsecs. Now, their remnants, vast clouds of incandescent gas and shimmering dust, were birthing new suns, a cosmic cycle of death and rebirth. It was also, as Dr. Corbin Shaw often reminded anyone who'd listen, a treasure trove of galactic history. Aboard the Stardust Drifter, a compact, privately owned exploration vessel that had seen better millennia, Corbin leaned intensely over his sensor console. His dark hair was perpetually tousled, a side effect of constantly running his hands through it when deep in thought. "Ava, look at this. The gravimetric distortion. It's not natural. And these energy signatures, faint, but definitely builder tech." Captain Eva Rostova, her blonde hair pulled back in a severe, practical knot, glanced over from the pilot's chair. Her expression was one of fond exasperation. She was a woman built of sharp angles and sharper instincts, her past in the Terran Alliance fleet evident in her no-nonsense demeanor. "Corbin, everything out here is builder tech, if you squint hard enough. Most of it is just irradiated scrap." She expertly nudged the drifter around a floating chunk of crystalline debris, the size of a small moon. "And those research grants don't pay for chasing cosmic ghosts unless those ghosts have very deep pockets." "This is different," Corbin insisted, his voice tight with excitement. He tapped a section of the display where faint lines of code scrolled. "This isn't just debris. It's a patterned signal, almost like a breadcrumb. It mentions a sanctuary and something called a legacy unit." Eva raised an eyebrow. "Sanctuary? Sounds like another one of those mythical retirement homes for extinct superbeings. And legacy unit? Could be anything from a power conduit to a very fancy toaster." "But it's Builder," Corbin stressed, his eyes gleaming. The Builders, a civilization that had vanished hundreds of thousands of years ago, had left behind wonders and mysteries that still baffled the galaxy's brightest. Finding an intact piece of their functional technology was the dream of every xenoarchaeologist. "The energy trail is weak, but it's leading somewhere specific, deeper into this debris cluster." Eva sighed, but a small smile played on her lips. Corbin's passion was infectious, even if his theories often led them on wild goose chases. This was, after all, what they did, poke around the forgotten corners of the galaxy. "All right, Doc, let's follow your breadcrumbs. But if this legacy unit turns out to be a particularly shiny rock, you're on dish duty for a month." "Deal," Corbin said instantly, already lost back in his readings. For another 6 hours, the Stardust Drifter navigated the increasingly dense field. The silence in the cockpit was broken only by the hum of the engines, the occasional ping of the proximity sensors, and Corbin's soft murmurs as he cross-referenced data. Eva drank lukewarm synth coffee, her gaze flicking between her flight path and Corbin's animated face. She'd known him for 5 years, ever since he'd chartered her for a dig on a forgotten desert moon. His hunches were often unconventional, but they had a surprising habit of panning out. Then the ship's long-range sensors screamed. "Whoa," Eva breathed, her hands instinctively tightening on the controls. "What is that?" Ahead of them, emerging from the swirling dust like a phantom leviathan, was a structure of impossible scale. It was a colossal, multi-ringed station, its metallic hide scarred by eons of micrometeorite impacts but otherwise eerily intact. Dark, silent, and utterly massive, it dwarfed anything either of them had ever seen. Builder, unmistakably. "That," Corbin whispered, his face pale with awe, "is where our breadcrumbs lead." The station emitted no signals, no lights, no sign of life. It hung in the void, a silent testament to a forgotten age. The energy signature Corbin had been tracking pulsed faintly from somewhere deep within its metallic heart. Eva circled the station slowly, her pilot's mind assessing potential threats, docking points, structural integrity. "It's quiet, too quiet. No defensive systems active, no comms. It's like a tomb. Or a library waiting for a reader," Corbin countered, his gaze fixed on the behemoth. "The signal for the legacy unit is coming from that central spire." Eva brought the drifter towards a section of the station that looked like it might have once been a docking bay. Mangled gantries floated nearby, relics of some ancient catastrophic event. External power readings are nil. We'll be going in. Dark. Standard exploration protocols. Suits, scanners, and you stick close to me, Corbin. No wandering off to admire the alien architecture if something starts shooting. Understood, Corbin said, though his attention was already on the airlock sequences, his mind racing with possibilities. This was it. A find like this could rewrite history. The Stardust Drifter settled gently onto a broad, surprisingly stable platform within the cavernous, unpressurized bay. The silence was profound, broken only by the hiss of their suit systems as they cycled through the airlock. Heavy-duty mag clamps secured the ship. Eva armed a pulse carbine, its tactical light cutting a swathe through the oppressive darkness. Corbin carried a multi-scanner and a datapad, his weapons of choice. Ready? Eva asked, her voice calm but alert in his comms. Corbin took a deep breath, the recycled air of his suit tasting sterile. As I'll ever be. They stepped out of the drifter and onto the deck of the builder station. The sheer scale of the interior bay was breathtaking. It felt like standing inside a mountain carved by gods. Dust lay thick on every surface, undisturbed for millennia. The only light came from their suit lamps and the distant swirling colors of the Orion Nebula visible through rents in the station's outer hull. The signal is this way, Corbin said, gesturing down a colossal corridor that seemed to stretch into infinity. Stay sharp, Eva. We don't know what's been sleeping here. They moved forward, two small figures in a realm of forgotten giants stepping into the unknown heart of the relics of the deep. The corridors of the builder station were an unnerving blend of alien geometry and profound silence. Their boots made soft, crunching sounds on the dust-covered floor, each step echoing slightly in the vast, unpressurized spaces. Eva kept her carbine ready, her head swiveling, scanning the deep shadows that clung to the towering walls and intricate silent machinery. Corbin, meanwhile, moved with a focused intensity, his scanner beeping softly as it cataloged unknown alloys and residual energy patterns. The craftsmanship is astounding, Corbin murmured, running a gloved hand over a section of wall covered in intricate wave-like patterns. Even their utilitarian structures were works of art. No wonder they were called the Builders. Let's hope. Their art doesn't bite, Eva muttered, her light playing over a dark alcove that looked disconcertingly like a waiting maw. They followed the faint energy signature deeper into the station. Passageways branched off into darkness, leading to chambers filled with colossal inert devices whose purpose they could only guess at. It was a city built for giants by giants, and the sense of their own smallness was palpable. After what felt like hours, the corridor opened into a truly immense, spherical chamber. At its very center, suspended by massive, gracefully curved pylons, was a crystalline sphere at least 50 meters in diameter. It pulsed with a faint internal light, the source of the energy signature Corbin had been tracking. Intricate conduits, like frozen silver rivers, snaked from the sphere into the station's infrastructure. This is it, Corbin breathed, his voice filled with reverence. The core, the legacy unit must be within that sphere. As they approached, a section of the crystalline surface shimmered. Lines of light, like awakening neurons, traced patterns across it. A low hum began to resonate through the chamber, a sound felt more in their bones than heard through their suit comms. Power up, Eva warned, taking a defensive stance. Corbin, get behind me. The light within the sphere intensified, and then a voice. It was not a sound that traveled through the thin, near vacuum of the chamber, but rather a direct, resonant presence in their minds, ancient, powerful, and utterly alien. Query: who awakens this unit? State your designation and intent. Corbin stumbled back a step, his hand flying to his helmet. Eva, did you hear it? Feel it? Yeah, Eva confirmed, her carbine still aimed at the sphere, though she looked uncertain what she would even shoot at. Telepathic? Or some kind of advanced neural projection, Corbin theorized, recovering quickly. He stepped forward slowly, his hands raised in a universal gesture of peace. My designation is Dr. Corbin Shaw, xenolinguist. This is Captain Eva, Rostova, of the vessel Stardust Drifter. Our intent is peaceful exploration and historical research. The light in the sphere flickered, as if considering his words. Exploration? Research? This unit has been dormant for... There was a pause, a sense of immense temporal calculation. For 273,478 standard solar cycles, the protocols for unscheduled awakening are unclear. We detected your station's energy signature, Corbin explained, trying to keep his voice calm and respectful. We mean no harm. We are simply trying to understand the builders, your creators. The builders. The mental voice was tinged with something Corbin could only describe as profound weariness, an echo of immense loss. They are long departed. This unit remains. Legacy Unit 8. Designated Chronos. Primary function, custodian of the Great Archive, and upholder of the Edict of Sanctuary. Chronos, Corbin repeated softly. A keeper of time, of history, an Edict of Sanctuary. What is that? A covenant, a promise of refuge, of preservation against the storms of galactic entropy. The Great Archive contains the sum of builder knowledge and the knowledge of many others they sought to protect. Chronos's mental voice seemed to gain a little strength. But this unit is fragmented. Core memory sectors are offline. The long sleep has incurred damage. Eva lowered her carbine slightly. The AI didn't sound immediately hostile, just old and tired. So, you're like a librarian for a very, very old library? She asked, her pragmatism cutting through the awe. A simplistic, yet not entirely inaccurate analogy, Captain Rostova, Chronos replied. The faintest hint of what might have been dry wit touched its mental projection. This station is the vault, the archive is its contents, and I am its warden, yes. Can we help you, Chronos? Corbin asked. If your systems are damaged, perhaps we have technology that could assist in repairs. Accessing the Great Archive would be an unparalleled gift to the galaxy. The light in the sphere pulsed erratically. Assistance. The builders designed protocols for cognitive recalibration in the event of system degradation, but they require an interface, an organic mind, compatible with builder neuroarchitecture. Eva stiffened. Whoa there, hold on. What kind of interface? A direct synaptic link, Chronos explained, to realign corrupted data pathways to restore lost connections. The process is intensive and potentially hazardous to the organic component if incompatibilities exist. Hazardous how? Corbin pressed, a new kind of tension filling him. Cognitive overload, systemic neural shock, identity dissolution. Chronos listed the possibilities with detached clinical precision. Eva stepped firmly in front of Corbin. Absolutely not. No way is he plugging his brain into some ancient half-broken alien computer. We'll find another way. External diagnostics, maybe? Chronos's light dimmed slightly. External attempts have been insufficient. The damage is too deeply integrated within the core consciousness matrix. Only a collaborative alignment offers a significant probability of success. The AI paused. This unit can offer limited cooperation without it, but access to the full archive, to the location of the true sanctuary itself, that remains locked behind the corrupted data. Corbin looked from Eva's fiercely protective face to the giant glowing sphere that housed an intelligence older than human civilization. The risks were immense, but the potential reward, knowledge beyond imagining, a chance to unlock the builder's greatest secrets, perhaps even the reasons for their disappearance. And more than that, there was a strange sense of duty settling over him, a feeling that this ancient, damaged mind deserved a chance to be whole again. Background comms chatter, which Eva had kept on a low, passive scan, suddenly crackled with a more urgent coded transmission. Her eyes narrowed as she processed the fleeting data burst. Corbin, picking up encrypted Jydari Imperium signals. Short range. They're not supposed to be in this sector. Not officially, anyway. The Jydari, A ruthless, expansionist empire known for their brutal efficiency and their penchant for stripping ancient sites bare, either for resources or to eradicate any potential challenge to their dominance. If they detected the builder station, Chronos's mental voice sharpened. Jydari? Their energy signatures are known to this unit. Aggressors, despoilers. If they detect this station's awakening, they will seek to claim it, or destroy it. The stakes had just become impossibly high. The air in the control center of the builder station, already thin, seemed to crackle with unspoken tension. Eva's hand instinctively went to her carbine, her gaze flicking towards the vast emptiness of the corridor they'd come from, as if expecting Jydari shock troops to materialize from the shadows. "Chronos," Corbin said, his voice tight. "If the Jydari are nearby, we don't have much time. This cognitive recalibration, how long would it take?" "The duration is variable," Chronos projected, "dependent on the extent of the corruption and the compatibility of the interfacing mind. It could be hours, or it could be inconclusive." The unspoken implication of fatal hung in the mental silence. Eva swore under her breath. "Corbin, don't even think about it. We grab what data we can from its limited cooperation mode and we get the hell out of here. This station is a sitting duck if the Jydari show up." "And leave Chronos and the archive to them?" Corbin countered, turning to face her. "Ava, you heard it. The Jydari are despoilers. They'll tear this place apart, melt Chronos down for spare parts. Everything the builders saved, everything Chronos has protected for almost 300,000 years, will be lost or twisted into weapons." "It's not our fight, Corbin," Eva argued, her voice fierce. "Our fight is to stay alive, to get the Stardust Drifter out of here in one piece. This AI, however old and fancy, is not worth your life." Corbin looked at the pulsating sphere, at the faint light that seemed to dim with Eva's words. He felt an unexpected pang of empathy for the ancient intelligence. Trapped, damaged, facing oblivion after an eternity of faithful service. It wasn't just about the knowledge anymore. It was about the keeper of that knowledge. "Maybe it is," Corbin said quietly. He turned back to Chronos. "I'll do it. I'll attempt the neural interface." "Corbin, no." Eva grabbed his arm, her grip surprisingly strong. "You can't be serious. Identity dissolution? You heard what it said." "I also heard sanctuary," Corbin replied, meeting her worried gaze. "A place of refuge, knowledge preserved, not plundered. If there's a chance to restore that, to help Chronos complete its mission, I have to take it." He gently removed her hand. "Besides, if the Jydari are coming, this might be the only way to get the information we need to find the sanctuary before they do." Eva stared at him, her face a mask of frustration and fear. She knew that look in his eyes, the quiet determination that brooked no argument. It was the same look he'd had when he insisted on descending into the methane-choked ruins of Xylos, a decision that had nearly killed them both, but had also yielded a priceless artifact. "You stubborn, idealistic fool," she whispered, but there was a grudging respect in her tone. She let out a ragged breath. Fine, but I'm monitoring every second. The moment your brainwaves look like scrambled eggs, I'm pulling the plug. Chronos or no Chronos, got it?" "Got it," Corbin said, a grateful smile touching his lips. He knew the risk she was taking by even allowing this. "The interface apparatus is located within this core chamber," Chronos projected, a section of the crystalline sphere becoming transparent, revealing an alcove. Inside, a delicate, almost organic-looking harness of shimmering filaments descended. "Position yourself beneath it. The filaments will establish the synaptic connection." Corbin took a steadying breath and walked towards the alcove. The harness looked unnervingly like a silver spiderweb. Ava followed, her face grim, her carbine now slung over her shoulder as she activated a medical scanner on her wrist comp. Its sensors already focused on Corbin. "Remember, scrambled eggs, and you're out," she warned, her voice tight. He nodded, then looked up as the filaments descended, gently touching his helmet. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a strange warmth spread through his mind, a sense of presence. The world dissolved. He was no longer Corbin Shaw, xenolinguist, standing in a builder station. He was vast. A consciousness spread across light years, witnessing the birth and death of stars. He felt the slow, ponderous thoughts of the builders, their grand designs, their sorrow at a galaxy spiraling into chaos. Then came the loneliness, eons of it, a crushing weight of silent, patient waiting. It was Chronos's loneliness, a pain so profound it was a physical ache. Fragmented data streams like shattered rainbows swirled around him. He saw star charts, equations that described the fabric of reality, philosophical treatises on the nature of existence and the faces of 1,000 alien species all seeking refuge. This was the Great Archive, a universe of knowledge. Cognitive alignment in progress. Chronos's voice echoed, no longer just in his mind, but as his mind. Data corruption extensive, attempting to bridge fractured pathways. Corbin felt his own identity flicker, threatening to be overwhelmed by the sheer volume of information, by the ancient, powerful consciousness of the AI. Ava's warnings echoed, identity dissolution. He fought to hold on to himself, to his core being, focusing on his name, his ship, Ava's worried face. He wasn't just a receiver, he was a participant. He pushed back against the chaos with his own structured thoughts, his human empathy acting as a strange kind of organizing principle. He felt Chronos respond, its vast intellect latching onto his focused consciousness, using it as an anchor. They were two minds, working together, sifting through the wreckage of memory. Outside, Ava watched in terror. Corbin was slumped in the harness, his body limp. His vital signs displayed on her wrist comp were erratic, spiking and plummeting. Several times her hand hovered over the emergency disconnect, but something in the almost imperceptible rhythm of Chronos's light, a sense of focused effort, made her hesitate. This wasn't just a machine, it was a mind, fighting for its existence, and Corbin was fighting alongside it. Then, as suddenly as it began, the torrent subsided. Corbin gasped, his senses returning with a rush. He was back in his own body, his own mind, though it felt expanded, changed. He was exhausted, every neuron screaming. But he was whole. He looked up. The light in Chronos' sphere was brighter, now clearer, its internal patterns more coherent. Cognitive recalibration. Successful, Chronos projected. Its mental voice was different, still ancient but with a new warmth, a resonance that hadn't been there before. Core memory restored, the edict is clear, the location of the sanctuary. I remember. Corbin managed a weak smile. Good. That's good. Corbin! Eva rushed to his side, helping him out of the harness as its filaments retracted. Are you okay? Talk to me. Tired, he mumbled, leaning heavily on her. But I think we did it, Eva. Indeed you did, Dr. Shaw, Chronos affirmed. Your empathetic resonance, it was the key. A factor the builders, for all their logic, perhaps underestimated in their contingency designs. The AI paused. And the information you sought is now available. The sanctuary is hidden within the Vesper Nebula, a region shielded by extreme, gravitic tides and stellar radiation. A difficult journey. Then its tone shifted, a new urgency in its mental projection. And one we must undertake with haste. My long-range sensors, now fully operational, detect a Jydari Imperium fleet altering course. Their vanguard is already probing the periphery of the Orion Nebula. They have detected the energy surge from my reawakening. They are coming. Yotsauda helped Corbin toward the exit. No rest for the weary, huh? Chronos, can you interface with the Stardust Drifter? We could use an AI with your kind of processing power for navigation, especially if we're flying into a difficult journey with Jydari on R6. Partial integration is possible, Chronos replied. My core consciousness will remain within this station, for it is too vast to transfer. But I can extend a secure data link and auxiliary processing functions to your vessel. It would be advantageous for all of us. Corbin nodded, a new determination hardening his exhausted features. Then let's get moving. The race to the Vesper Nebula has just begun. The Stardust Drifter shot out of the builder station like a cork from a bottle, its engines flaring bright against the dark bulk of the ancient construct. Ava was a blur of motion in the cockpit, her hands flying over the controls, coaxing every last bit of speed from the straining engines. Corbin, still shaky but recovering, was strapped into the co-pilot seat, monitoring their backtrail. Jydari scout ships, 3 of them, just cleared the outer debris field, he reported, his voice tight. They're changing course, heading straight for the station. Their trajectory indicates they have not yet detected our departure point. Chronos' calm voice echoed in the cockpit, now a subtle presence integrated into the Drifter's comms. However, they will undoubtedly investigate the station. We have a limited window. How limited? Eva grunted, executing a tight, evasive roll around a rogue asteroid. Based on their current speed and sensor capabilities, I estimate 12 standard hours before they ascertain our probable escape vector towards the Vesper Nebula. 12 hours isn't much of a head start, Corbin muttered, especially if their capital ships are faster than this old girl. She's got a few tricks left, Eva said, a grim smile on her face. She rerouted power from non-essential systems to the engines and shields. Chronos, you said you could help with navigation. The Vesper Nebula is listed as forbidden territory on most charts for a reason. It's a gravitic nightmare. Indeed, Captain Rostova. Standard navigational computers would struggle. However, my knowledge of builder astrogation techniques and real-time gravitic field analysis should allow for a more direct route. On the main view screen, a complex 3-dimensional star chart overlaid with swirling lines of gravitational force appeared. Chronos highlighted a narrow, twisting corridor through the chaos. This path minimizes exposure to the most extreme tidal forces and radiation pockets. It is unconventional. Unconventional is our specialty, Eva said, already angling the Drifter towards the projected route. Strap in, Corbin, this is going to be a bumpy ride. For hours they flew. The Stardust Drifter, guided by Chronos' ancient wisdom and Eva's skilled hands, danced through regions of space that would have torn larger, less agile ships apart. They skimmed the edges of black holes, navigated through fields of crackling energy, and used the slingshot effect of unstable neutron stars to gain bursts of speed. Corbin, his earlier exhaustion forgotten in the adrenaline of the chase, worked with Chronos, fine-tuning sensor interpretations and plotting micro-jumps. Strange camaraderie was forming. Eva, initially wary of the AI, found herself increasingly impressed by its calm efficiency and its almost intuitive understanding of the ship's capabilities. Chronos, for its part, seemed to be adapting to the humans, its formal pronouncements, occasionally tinged with something akin to concern, especially when Ava pushed the Drifter particularly hard. Corbin acted as the bridge, his mind still resonating faintly with the AI's consciousness, allowing for near-instantaneous communication of complex ideas. We are approaching the Jydari picket line faster than anticipated, Chronos announced, its tone unwavering. A squadron of their destroyers is attempting to form a blockade at the Vesper Nebula's primary entry point. They're learning, Eva gritted out, her knuckles white on the controls. They know where we're going. On the tactical display, several hostile contacts appeared, glowing an angry red. They were still distant but closing. Can we outrun them? Corbin asked. Unlikely on a direct course. Their vessels are faster in open space. However, their adherence to standard fleet doctrine makes them predictable. Chronos highlighted another, even more treacherous-looking path on the holographic map. This route enters the Vesper Nebula through an unmapped chasm of null space. It is highly volatile, but the Jydari will not expect it. Null space? That's practically suicide, Corbin exclaimed. Null space was notoriously unstable, prone to reality shears. Eva, however, was already studying the route. If it gets us past that blockade, Chronos, what are the odds? With precise navigation and optimal shield modulation, the probability of safe passage is 67.3%. I've taken worse odds, Eva said grimly. Corbin, hang on to your hat. She angled the Drifter away from the Jydari blockade and towards a seemingly empty patch of space that shimmered with an oily blackness. As they drew closer, the ship began to shudder violently. Alarms blared. "Entering null space chasm now," Chronos announced. "Shields fluctuating. Navigational references are unstable." The view screen dissolved into a nauseating swirl of non-colors. The ship bucked and pitched like a wild beast. Eva fought the controls, her face a mask of concentration, while Corbin called out shield status and energy readings, his voice strained. The bond with Chronos was crucial here. The AI feeding Eva minute course corrections faster than any human could process, anticipating the gravitic shears before they hit. Somewhere behind them, they could hear the faint, angry chatter of Jydari, comes as their picket line realized its quarry had vanished. Suddenly, they burst back into normal space, the Vesper Nebula's chaotic beauty filling the view screen once more. It was a maelstrom of vibrant, clashing colors, young, fiercely burning stars and dark, swirling pockets of unknown matter. "Status?" Eva gasped, her arms aching. "Shields at 40% but holding. Hull integrity maintained. We're through the blockade," Corbin reported, relief flooding his voice. "Nice flying, Captain." Eva allowed herself a small, tired smile. "Couldn't have done it without our oversized thinking cap here. Thanks, Chronos." "The appreciation is noted, Captain Rostova." There was almost a hint of warmth in the AI's mental tone. Their respite was short-lived. A new set of contacts appeared on the long-range sensors. Larger, more powerful. "That's gotta be Volmar's main group," Corbin said, his heart sinking. "The harbinger of dominance is among them." Imperator Thrax Volmar's flagship was infamous, a symbol of Jydari might. "They are still some distance behind us, but they are pushing their engines hard," Chronos stated. "They will not give up easily. The sanctuary's entrance, according to my restored archives, is protected by a sophisticated environmental puzzle, the builder's final safeguard. It cannot be bypassed by brute force." "A puzzle?" Eva said. "In the middle of this?" She gestured to the chaotic nebula around them. "The builders were never simple," Corbin mused. "Chronos, can you guide us to this puzzle? We need to solve it before Volmar catches up." "Affirmative, Dr. Shaw. The location is deep within the most turbulent sector of the nebula. The Jydari will undoubtedly follow our energy trail. We must hope their lack of philosophical nuance will impede their progress where it aids ours." The Stardust Drifter plunged deeper into the Vesper Nebula, a tiny spark of hope fleeing before a gathering storm, racing towards an ancient riddle at the edge of understanding. The Vesper Nebula lived up to its chaotic reputation. The Stardust Drifter navigated a labyrinth of stellar nurseries, radiation storms, and gravitational whirlpools that would have made lesser pilots and lesser AIs turn back. Eva Rostova, however, seemed to thrive on the challenge, her movements economical and precise as she weaved the ship through incandescent curtains of gas and dodged rogue planetoids. Corbin, beside her, monitored their pursuers, his anxiety a tight knot in his stomach. "Volmar's main fleet is gaining," Corbin reported, his voice grim. "They're not even trying to be subtle, just burning hard for our position. They must have some way of tracking us through this mess." "Jydari sensor technology is formidable, though reliant on conventional spectrum analysis," Chronos commented, "from the ship's systems. They are likely following the residual ion trail from our engine exhaust. However, the area we are approaching will soon render such methods problematic." Ahead, the nebula seemed to congeal into an almost solid wall of roiling, multicolored energy and distorted space-time. It was like looking at a storm front that stretched across light years, beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. "That," Corbin breathed, "must be the veil you mentioned, Chronos." "Correct, Dr. Shaw. The outermost layer of the sanctuary's protective measures. Beyond it lies the puzzle itself. Navigating the veil requires understanding its cyclical energy patterns, not fighting them." As the Stardust Drifter neared the tumultuous boundary, the ship began to shudder. Warning lights flashed across Eva's console. "Gravitic shear is off the charts. Shields are taking a beating." "Volmar's ships are slowing," Corbin noted, a hint of surprise in his voice. "They're deploying probes, but they're not entering the veil directly. He watched as several Jydari drones were consumed by flashes of violent energy as they attempted to penetrate the barrier. Looks like they're learning the hard way that brute force isn't the answer here. Imperator Thrax Volmar, aboard the bridge, of the Harbinger of Dominance, watched the destruction of his probes with a scowl. His species, the Jydari, were tall and powerfully built, their gray, chitinous skin hinting at a rugged evolutionary path. Volmar was a prime example, his scarred face set in lines of impatient command. "Report," he barked at his sensor officer. "Imperator, the human vessel has entered the distortion field. Our probes cannot maintain integrity. The energy fluctuations are anomalous." "Anomalous?" Volmar sneered. "The builders were masters of anomalous energy. Find a way through or find a way around. I want what's in there. If it's a weapon, it belongs to the Jydari Imperium. If it's knowledge, we will dissect it for its strategic value." He dismissed the idea of anything else as sentimental weakness. Meanwhile, inside the Veil, the Stardust Drifter was tossed like a leaf in a hurricane. Eva wrestled with the controls, her face beaded with sweat. "Chronos, any bright ideas?" she yelled over the roar of protesting systems. "The Veil is a dynamic construct, Captain. Its patterns are complex but not random. They are based on ancient builder astrophysical models. Dr. Shaw, your linguistic expertise with builder dialects might provide insight into their philosophical approach to such constructs." Corbin's mind raced. He accessed the builder linguistic database Chronos had shared during their neural link. He focused on terms related to harmony, balance, and cyclical patterns, core tenets of builder philosophy. They wouldn't see this as a wall, Chronos, but as a current, a flow. "We need to find the rhythm, not fight the waves." He began cross-referencing the energy patterns displayed on his console with symbolic representations in builder texts. It was like trying to solve a multi-dimensional Sudoku puzzle while riding a roller coaster. "Precisely, Dr. Shaw. Observe the phase coherence of the tachyon emissions." Chronos guided, its immense processing power sifting through the data. Corbin highlighted. While Corbin and Chronos worked, Eva focused on keeping them alive. Outside, the Jydari, frustrated by their inability to penetrate the Veil directly, had resorted to a cruder tactic. They began systematically bombarding the periphery of the Veil with heavy turbo-laser fire, hoping to disrupt its structure or blast a clear path. The shockwaves from the distant explosions buffeted the drifter, adding another layer of chaos. "They're trying to collapse it on top of us," Eva shouted, expertly maneuvering to avoid a particularly violent ripple in space-time. "Caused by a Jydari volley. Almost there," Corbin muttered, his eyes darting across his screen. "The pattern, it's not just energy. It's like a stellar map, a sequence of alignments. Chronos, if we plot a course that mirrors the ancient constellation Caiston, as it would have appeared from the Builder's homeworld during the third galactic alignment." Calculating, Chronos paused. "The probability of that path aligning with a stable channel through the Veil is 89.7%. An elegant solution, Dr. Shaw, very much in the spirit of Builder design." "Plot it," Eva ordered. A new, intricate course appeared on her navigation display. It looked insane. A series of impossible turns and dives directly into the most violent-looking parts of the Veil. But Eva trusted Corbin's intuition and Chronos's calculations. She took a deep breath and committed the Stardust Drifter to the path. For several terrifying minutes they flew blind, trusting the abstract logic of a long-dead civilization. The ship screamed and groaned around them. Then, as if by magic, the turbulence began to subside. The chaotic energies of the Veil seemed to part before them, forming a shimmering, surprisingly calm corridor. "We're through the worst of it," Eva breathed, relief evident in her voice. Ahead, the view cleared. They were in a relatively tranquil pocket within the Vesper Nebula, and floating before them was the most extraordinary sight, a series of massive, interlocking rings, each glowing with soft internal light, orbiting what looked like a perfectly stable miniature star. Strange, ethereal structures drifted between the rings, connected by threads of light. It was beautiful, serene, and utterly alien. This was the entrance to the sanctuary, but it wasn't open. The rings formed an impenetrable barrier, a colossal, silent puzzle. "This is the cipher of the ancients," Chronos announced. "The final gateway. Its solution is not one of force, but of understanding. It requires the correct sequence of resonance frequencies, keyed to specific builder philosophical concepts." Before Corbin could even begin to process that, a proximity alarm blared. "Volmar!" Corbin exclaimed, looking at the tactical display. He found a weak point, or one of his barrages got lucky. His flagship, the Harbinger of Dominance, is breaking through the veil. On the view screen, the massive wedge-shaped Jydari warship tore its way out of the swirling energies, its hull scarred but its weapons already locking onto the Stardust Drifter. "No time for subtle philosophy now," Ava said, her hands flying over the weapons console. "We've got incoming." The race to solve the cipher of the ancients had just become a battle for survival. The Harbinger of Dominance was a terrifying sight. Bristling with weapon emplacements, its dark hull absorbed the faint light of the miniature star, making it look like a predator emerging from the deep. Jydari fighters, sleek and deadly, began to spill from its launch bays. "Eva, we can't fight that thing," Corbin yelled, his eyes wide as he watched the Jydari flagship bear down on them. The Stardust Drifter was nimble, but it was hopelessly outgunned. "Don't plan to," Eva grunted, firing a spread of decoy drones and pushing the Drifter's engines to their absolute limit, skimming perilously close to the massive inert rings of the cipher. "Chronos, Corbin. You need to solve that puzzle, and you need to do it. 5 minutes ago, I'll buy you what time I can." Jydari energy bolts lanced through space, narrowly missing their stern. Eva executed a dizzying series of evasive maneuvers, using the colossal rings of the cipher as cover. The cipher requires an empathetic resonance combined with an understanding of the builder's prime edicts: preservation, sanctuary, and illumination. Chronos projected, its voice calm amidst the chaos. Each ring corresponds to an edict. They must be activated in the correct sequence, with the correct harmonic frequency tied to its conceptual meaning. "Empathetic resonance?" Corbin muttered, trying to block out the explosions and Eva's sharp commands. "How do you broadcast empathy?" He remembered the neural link, the overwhelming sense of Chronos' loneliness, and then the shared purpose. "The link. Chronos, can we use our connection?" "It is possible, Dr. Shaw. Your human capacity for focused emotional projection, amplified through my systems, it could provide the necessary resonance, but the sequence and frequencies must be precise." Corbin closed his eyes, forcing himself to concentrate. He pictured the concept of preservation, not just of objects but of life, of hope. He imagined pouring that feeling into the link with Chronos. "First ring resonating. Positive lock achieved on preservation frequency," Chronos announced. One of the giant rings before them pulsed with a soft golden light. "It's working," Eva shouted, dodging another volley of fire. "But hurry, their fighters are trying to flank us." Next, sanctuary. Corbin focused on the feeling of safety, of a haven against the storm, the very ideal that had driven them this far. He projected it with all his might. The second ring hummed, glowing with a gentle blue light. "Second ring locked, sanctuary frequency confirmed. One more," Corbin urged, sweat beading on his forehead. The mental effort was immense. Illumination. He thought of knowledge, understanding, the dispelling of darkness and ignorance. As he focused, a Jydari fighter scored a lucky hit on the Drifter's shields. The ship shuddered violently and Corbin cried out, his concentration momentarily broken. "Shields down to 20%, Eva warned, her voice strained. "Corbin, now." He grit his teeth, pushing past the pain and fear. Illumination, the spark of discovery, the joy of understanding. He poured every ounce of his being into that concept. The third and final ring pulsed with a brilliant white light. Illumination frequency achieved. All rings aligned. "The cipher is unlocked," Chronos declared, with a deep, resonant hum that vibrated through the hulls of both human and Jydari ships. The massive rings began to rotate, intricate mechanisms whirring within. A section of the seemingly solid barrier dissolved, revealing a shimmering, inviting passageway into the heart of the construct. "Go, Eva, go," Corbin yelled. Eva didn't need telling twice. She slammed the thrusters forward, guiding the Stardust Drifter through the newly opened gateway just as a barrage from the Harbinger of Dominance scorched the space where they had been. They emerged into a place of breathtaking beauty. At the center of a vast spherical cavity, illuminated by the soft glow of the miniature star, was a network of delicate, interconnected habitats. Crystalline structures gleamed, interwoven with lush alien vegetation. Graceful, shimmering vessels drifted between them, moving with an effortless elegance. It was a city of light and peace, a hidden jewel in the heart of the chaotic nebula, and they were not alone. As the Stardust Drifter glided into the serene space, one of the shimmering, organic-looking vessels approached. It was slender and leaf-shaped, glowing with an inner light. It pulsed gently, and then, a voice, not in their comms but soft and melodious directly in their minds, much like Chronos's but with a different timbre. "Greetings, travelers. You who have solved the cipher of the ancients and honored the edict. Welcome to Ethelgard, the last sanctuary." From the vessel, a figure began to coalesce on their view screen, or perhaps it was a projection. It was tall and slender, almost translucent, with large, gentle eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of ages. Its form flowed and shifted subtly, like heat haze. "They're beautiful," Corbin whispered, awestruck. "And hopefully friendly," Eva added, though she kept a wary eye on the closing portal behind them, where the silhouette of the Harbinger of Dominance was already visible, pushing its way through. "I am Lore Master Oris of the Ethelgard," the being continued, its mental voice calm despite the looming threat. "We are the keepers you have sought, the inheritors of the Builder's Covenant, and you, Legacy Unit 8, Chronos. It has been long since we felt your presence." "Lore Master Oris," Chronos responded, its voice tinged with a profound sense of fulfillment. "My primary directive is nearing completion. The archive is safe. The edict is upheld." The moment of peaceful revelation was shattered. With a grinding screech of tortured metal, the Harbinger of Dominance tore through the partially reclosed gateway, its massive frame forcing the ancient mechanism wider. Imperator Thrax Volmar, his faceplate visible on his ship's command bridge projection, surveyed the sanctuary with predatory eyes. "So this is the great sanctuary," Volmar's amplified voice boomed across the comm channels, dripping with contempt. "A collection of pretty lights and fragile baubles, and these Ethelgard, more relics for the Galactic Museum." He ignored Corbin and Eva's small ship entirely. "I see no great weapon here, only a repository of quaint, useless knowledge. Surrender it and your extinction may be marginally less painful." Loremaster Oris turned its serene gaze towards the Jydari warship. The Ethelgard, while possessing advanced technology, were clearly not a martial race. Their vessels looked more like art than warships. The sanctuary seemed utterly defenseless against the might of the Jydari Imperium. "This archive contains the wisdom of 1,000 worlds, Imperator," Oris projected, its voice still calm but firm. "It is not a weapon, but a legacy of peace and understanding. We will not allow it to be despoiled." Volmar laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "Then you will be obliterated along with it." The Harbinger of Dominance's primary weapon systems began to charge, their ominous glow reflecting in the crystalline structures of the Ethelgard habitats. The dream of sanctuary seemed about to turn into a nightmare. Imperator Thrax Volmar's contemptuous laughter echoed through the serene heart of the Ethelgard sanctuary. The primary cannons of the Harbinger of Dominance glowed with malevolent energy, ready to unleash destruction upon the delicate, ancient habitats. Eva Rostova instinctively maneuvered the Stardust Drifter protectively closer to Loremaster Oris's shimmering vessel, a gnat defying a warhawk. "You don't get it, do you, Volmar?" Corbin Shaw's voice, though unamplified, cut through the Jydari Imperator's tirade, transmitted on an open channel. He felt a strange calm settling over him, the fear replaced by a resolute anger. "This place, this knowledge, it's not about power. It's about preventing people like you from being the only voice left in the galaxy, Volmar scoffed. The sentimental babble of a doomed primitive. Your insignificant lives are forfeit. The Jydari flagship shuddered as its weapons reached peak charge. It was then that Chronos spoke, its mental voice resonating not just within the cockpit of the Stardust Drifter, but seemingly amplified, echoing through the minds of everyone in the sanctuary. Ethelgard, human and even disconcertingly the Jydari aboard their warship. Imperator Thrax Volmar. You misunderstand the nature of this sanctuary and the covenant that protects it. The light within the Ethelgard habitats pulsed in unison, a soft, thrumming energy that seemed to connect them all, with Chronos as its focal point. The ancient AI, still partially housed in its remote station, but now deeply interfaced with the sanctuary's core systems, felt more powerful than ever. The builders understood that true preservation requires more than just walls or shields. Chronos continued, its voice now imbued with an incredible authority. The Edict of Sanctuary, the covenant you so readily dismiss, is not merely a passive oath. It is woven into the very fabric of this place. It is a piece of socio-dynamic code, a defense mechanism powered by the very principles it seeks to protect. Volmar hesitated, a flicker of unease crossing his harsh features. Psychobabble. Your ancient tricks won't save you. But his weapons did not fire. It's not a trick, Volmar, Corbin said, understanding dawning in his own mind, a final piece of the puzzle clicking into place from his link with Chronos. It's about intent, about empathy, about loyalty, things you can't quantify, so you dismiss them. The builders counted on that. He looked at Ava, who met his gaze with a fierce, determined nod. They had come this far through trust, through their bond with each other and with Chronos. That had to mean something. Precisely, Dr. Shaw, Chronos affirmed. The covenant requires a catalyst, a conscious understanding and enactment of its core tenets. Your species, humans, with your inherent, often illogical capacity for empathy, for forging bonds of loyalty even with a discarded AI like myself, for risking everything for ideals. You are that catalyst. A wave of warmth and energy flowed from Corbin and Eva, channeled through Chronos, and amplified by the sanctuary's network. It wasn't a weapons blast, but something far more profound. It was the focused intent of the covenant itself, the desire to protect, to nurture understanding, to offer refuge. On the bridge of the harbinger of dominance, the Jydari crewmen began to stir uneasily. The calm, resonant power emanating from the sanctuary was not an attack they recognized. It bypassed their shields, their armor, their training. It touched something deeper. This sanctuary, Chronos declared, its voice now a chorus with the Ethelgard, is defended against minds incapable of comprehending altruism, against those whose sole purpose is conquest and destruction. To you, Imperator, and to those who share your singular aggressive intent, the principles of this place are cognitively dissonant. A silent, invisible wave washed over the Jydari flagship. For the Jydari, whose entire culture was built upon rigid hierarchy, dominance, and the suppression of individual empathy in favor of collective will, the sudden influx of understanding was devastating. Not understanding of tactics or technology, but of the value of what they were about to destroy. They felt, for the first time, the profound weight of the history in the archive, the beauty of the sanctuary, the quiet dignity of the Ethelgard. This alien comprehension, so contrary to their ingrained worldview, sparked a maelstrom of confusion in their minds. The Jydari warriors on the bridge looked at each other, their aggressive certainty faltering. Orders became hesitant. Targeting. Systems flickered as operators recoiled from their consoles, suddenly questioning their actions. The raw, unshielded concept of selfless preservation, of knowledge for its own sake, was anathema to their conditioning. It was like a discordant note tearing through a perfectly tuned, brutalist symphony. Volmar clutched his head, his composure shattering. "What is this? Sorcery!" he roared. but his voice was tight with a new, unfamiliar emotion. Fear. The unwavering loyalty of his troops was dissolving into a babble of confused shouts and panicked murmurs. Their aggressive intent, the very core of their strength, was being turned against them, creating a feedback loop of paralyzing doubt. "It's the strength of an oath, Volmar," Eva said quietly over the comms, watching the chaos unfold on the Jydari bridge through their open channel, "something your empire forgot how to value." The harbinger of dominance, its internal cohesion collapsing, began to drift aimlessly. Its weapon systems powered down not from damage, but from lack of coherent command. Volmar, his face pale and contorted, stared at the serene sanctuary with horrified disbelief. He had encountered the one weapon against which Jydari indoctrination had no defense: genuine empathy, weaponized by ancient genius. "Retreat," Volmar finally choked out, his voice hoarse. "All ships, retreat, get us out of this accursed place." The Jydari flagship, along with its bewildered escort fighters, turned clumsily and fled back towards the damaged rift in the veil, their organized terror a stark contrast to their arrogant arrival. The rift, already unstable, began to collapse as the last Jydari ship squeezed through, sealing the sanctuary off once more. Silence descended upon the Ethelgard sanctuary, profound and peaceful. Lore Master Oris's ethereal form shimmered. "The covenant holds. The sanctuary is safe. You have honored the Builder's trust, humans, and you, Chronos, have fulfilled your ageless vigil." Corbin let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding, slumping back in his chair, emotionally and mentally drained but with a grin spreading across his face. Eva reached over and squeezed his shoulder, her own smile wide and relieved. Chronos's mental voice was softer now, filled with a quiet satisfaction. "My purpose is indeed fulfilled, and I have found something more: companionship." In the days that followed, Corbin and Eva were honored guests of the Ethelgard. They learned more about the vast archive, a treasure beyond price, and about the gentle, wise species that had guarded it for millennia. Chronos, its core consciousness still residing in the Builder Station, but now permanently and joyfully linked to the sanctuary's network, decided to remain, to act as a bridge between the Ethelgard and any future visitors who might prove worthy. It had found its place not just as a warden, but as part of a living community. When it was time for the Stardust Drifter to leave, Lore Master Oris and Chronos bid them farewell at the newly reinforced gateway. "You carry with you a great knowledge, Corbin Shaw, Eva Rostova," Oris projected. "Not just of this place, but of the power of understanding and the strength found in unexpected bonds. The galaxy is wider and more wondrous than many believe," Chronos added, "and the echoes of forgotten oaths still resonate for those willing to listen. Travel safely, my friends." As the Stardust Drifter pulled away from the sanctuary, heading back into the now peaceful Vesper Nebula, Corbin looked back at the shimmering gateway. The experience had changed him, changed them both. They hadn't just found lost knowledge. They had helped preserve it, had proven that even in a cynical galaxy, loyalty, empathy, and the courage to uphold an ancient promise could turn the tide in the most unexpected and profound ways. Humanity, with all its flaws and surprising strengths, still had a vital role to play among the stars, and sometimes all it took was a willingness to bond with a lonely old AI to remind everyone of that. The universe, Corbin knew, was a little brighter because of it.